open-ended questions. These are broad. They invite open discussion and generally start with words like what, how, or why. And these are good to gain a deeper insight into what our client needs. For example, some good open-ended questions are, what are your top priorities for this project? Or how do you see this challenge impacting your goals? Next, we have clarifying questions. So these help you confirm details and eliminate ambiguity. For example, if a client says, we're not meeting targets, you might ask, well, which targets specifically are we falling short on? Moving on to reflective questions. So reflective questions dig deeper into the why, and it shows, active listening, and it encourages the client to think a little more critically. An example of a reflective question could be, what do you think is driving this particular issue? Or another one could be, how is this challenge affecting team morale? And then finally, we have closed-ended questions. So these are, the yes or no or fact-based questions that help us confirm details. They're great for clarifying, but should be balanced with open-ended questions. An example of a closed-ended question is, are your current resources sufficient for the project? Yes or no? Before we move on, I would like to expand a bit on the concepts shown on this slide about the types of questions that foster trust. Sometimes, even with the best of intentions, the way we phrase a question can come off as awkward or even accusatory if we're not careful. So I just want to share a couple of examples of maybe some awkward questions that illustrate how we can reframe them to have a more productive conversation. For instance, consider the question, why did your team miss the deadline? As you can see, this might sound direct and even blame-oriented. So instead, if we rephrase it to, were there any unexpected challenges that delayed progress on the deadline? Here we shift the focus, we reframe the question, it's clarifying in nature. It acknowledges that obstacles may have occurred, and it invites the client to explain what really happened rather than, putting anyone on the defensive. Another example is asking the client, are you unhappy with our work so far? Instead of focusing on potential negative feelings, we could reframe the question, are there any adjustments we could make to better meet your expectations? So this change turns the question into one that is reflective, open-ended, and emphasizing improvement, and also inviting the client's perspective rather than making them feel judged. And so these examples, they show how rephrasing an awkward question into a more open, clarifying, or reflective format not only helps us uncover the real issues, but it also builds trust, and it keeps the conversation collaborative with our clients. So with that added context in mind, we'll continue exploring how the right questions can drive deeper client conversations.